Hey, what's up, folks? My name is Chris. Welcome to our Sunday brunch with Chris today here on May 24th. I also want to take an early shout out to anybody that might be watching this on Twitch. Yeah, good luck. I hope this is going to work. This is my first time actually doing it over to Twitch and to YouTube at the same time. So I'm hoping there's no audio hiccups or anything else going on there. If there are, sorry in advance. For those who don't know me, I'm here every Sunday, as noted, named Chris, another tech guy in a hat, hoodie, whatever you want to call it, usually talking about Apple-related stuff. I try to mix in some Android content as well. Obviously, my favoritism lives in the land of the fruit, but I don't know, I try to keep it a little bit variety. But if your name is Mike and you're from Las Vegas, no matter what I talk about, you're still going to tell me that I'm really just an Apple guy. Also, shout out to anybody in the chat. I know right now I see Jason C. What's good, man? I'm sure we've got some other folks coming along here as well. Also, if you're watching this on replay, super appreciative that you are taking the time to do that. And even if you're here live, I mean, super appreciative of everybody spending their time with us today. So that is great. Also, I've got to share this now because I keep doing it and interrupting myself midstream with this. Any products or shows or anything else that I talk about will be shared down in the description area. So I'm not going to throw it in the chat or anything like that. These should both be recorded in a way that lets you see the chats as well. So just so everyone's aware of that, because I frequently find myself distracting the conversations and saying that. So what do we want to talk about today? I think there's a couple different things of interest that I want to cover. Number one, also shout out to Tech for Your Needs. Hey, man, welcome. Thanks for coming through. Super glad to see you. The just to trip it up a little bit, in the prior episodes, we were talking about the Pixel. There's supposed to be a Pixel 4a coming. There was a rumored release date of Friday, May 22nd. That was supposed to be the announced date, and then it was supposed to be available sometime after that. Well, that is not true. It has now slid out to July, according to at least one or two sources. I mean, I should probably shout out John Prosser for being the first one I heard it from. It looks like it's now going to be July 13th is the unofficial date with an announce. And then the device availability will be following later on in like August timeframe. So it's kind of ugly. I mean, well, and just so you know, too, the August is the date for the black one. So they're just black colorway will be available in August. There's supposed to be another one coming along in like October timeframe. So this really begs the question, if this is normally the time when the Pixel 5 would be dropping, why are they still releasing the Pixel 4a? That's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. Or are they just going to go straight to the Pixel 5? Are they going to call it a Pixel 5? What is this thing going to be? And why are they waiting so darn long to actually drop it? I don't understand this. It confuses me, but that's not really that hard to do. It's more so the fact that Google could be producing they should be dropping their premium tier device in that time frame. Now they're claiming that it's due to market conditions at the moment. It's not due to supply chain issue, which is even weirder because right now their supply chain, these things are allegedly ready to ship now. They're done. They're built. They can ship them. They're just not, which is kind of dumb. I mean, Apple did this. I'm going to keep saying this is dumb. I'm just going to keep on saying it. Apple shipped the iPhone SE in a climate that was less than ideal, shall we say. And that's not, that's Apple. Apple can do that. They're being successful with it. The SE is, I don't actually have any projected sales numbers, but I know a lot of people who are non-technical have been elated to discover that this device exists and are purchasing it. I assume the 4A would be a really, really great competitor with a $349 starting price. I mean, what are they waiting for? I'm not sure. I'm irritated. And Michael Pepper says, I heard that they might drop the Pixel 5 and 4a at the same time and call it the 5a instead. Yeah, I've heard a couple different things. That's really what. Hey, this is kind of interesting. So YouTube isn't letting me participate in the chat today. A fun little nugget of fact. Hang on a second. I got to fix this. This is really strange, actually. But yeah, but he's saying that they might drop the Pixel 5 and 4a called 5a. I don't think that they would. Calling it the 5a would make sense, because if you look at this thing where they've been doing with the premium tier devices, they come up with a premium tier device with sort of so-so battery life. There's been some changes to the Pixel team over the past year. It might make sense that they go and make like a value route device and they just do it later and call it the 5A. I would hate to see them get away from, the sort of premium tier, but just call it the Pixel 5, make it a mid tier, something that's good for devs, good for those who want the raw, Android experience, but make sure that it can take smoking good pictures and give it good battery life and a good display. Do all that, and we don't care what you call it or what you consider it. Now, it is supposed to be shipping with a Snapdragon 765, which is not the latest and greatest CPU, but it's it's not like the 865 that you see in some of the flagships. But then again, I mean, if you want a flagship device, you want to get that big S20 Ultra. You want to get these latest and greatest gigantic screen devices that are OnePlus 8 Pro and stuff like that. Then that's not Pixel. That's kind of moving towards a manufacturer device with a manufacturer skin. It's not the sort of Google experience device anyway. So also welcome Apple Monster to the chat. Still trying to figure out this weird chat issue I've got going on in the background. It's very amusing that it's telling me that I need to create a channel to join the chat today, which is strange considering it's my channel. But we'll see if we can't get that resolved. So that is really one little bit of news from the grand scheme of things, is that Pixel stuff. The other thing, and really the reason why the stream is titled the way that it is obviously because Apple, their crappy headphones. I'm not really a fan of their, well, actually, here's the thing. Let me start off with this. New topic time. There is a rumor right now, by the release of the iPhone 12, Apple will not be including the EarPods headphones anymore within their boxes. So right now, when you buy an iPhone, for those who don't know, you usually get a charging adapter, a little crappy charging brick, little USB-A charging cable to Lightning, unless it's a premium device like the Pros, and then you get the USB-C to Lightning, and then some Apple EarPods. I've got probably 20 pairs of them sitting around here somewhere in some fashion, because I never open them. They usually end up sitting around in the boxes. But the rumor is that Apple's no longer going to be including the EarPods with their devices. That is very, very interesting to me. And also, by the way, as we're going through this, so if you're watching this on replay, I want you to hit the comments, please. I want to know down there what you think about this and what your views on it are. This is going to be the bulk of my show today, just so you know. We are beating the EarPods thing into the ground, because it is more than that. But I do want to know what you think. And chat, folks, by the way, I think I might be in chat now. All right, let me send it. Cool. Hey, that's awesome. Awesome. I'm there now, finally. Sometimes, you just need a browser restart. So headphones. The first thing I've just got to say, this is a stupid topic. I acknowledge that. I promise we'll make it make sense. We'll turn it into something good, because I do have some, as usual, interesting comments to say on this stuff. But for me personally, do I care about this? Well, no, actually, in a sense, I don't. I mean, I'm on both sides. Here's one side. No, I don't care. The reason I don't care is because I don't use them. For me personally, I put them in my ears and they fall out of my skull every single time. The weight of the wires on them pulls them out of my... I cannot use these things. I could if you buy those little wings. I don't know what the brand is, but there's a company that makes like these little sort of curlicue things that like go into your ear. If you're watching this on mute, I am crazy. Yes, that's what this, hopefully the closed captioning indicates such. But I would have to wear them some sort of ear hooks, but I didn't really prefer the sound. They didn't seal well. They didn't do anything magical for me. And they have a cord. So I went to AirPods eventually, which is much later in the story, but AirPods work fine for me. EarPods, So I don't care that they're not including anymore from that perspective. Also, my niece, who's probably not watching this, nor will she ever know I'm speaking of her, is the only person that ever benefited from this, because she always had corded headphones and would promptly and routinely destroy them. So when I say I have 20 pairs around here, that's probably exaggeration. I probably have about 3 left, because she eats through them like she might be eating them. That could be what's going on. I don't know, but she will go through them, and the next thing I know, it would be, "You don't have any of these, do you? I mean, I see you with like a new iPhone every once in a while, so you must have a bunch of these hanging around, right, Uncle?" So anyways, if you're watching, know that I still love you and care. And really, that goes to everybody. I mean, everyone in the room right now. Okay, this is getting weird. So I don't necessarily care that they're not including them. My niece probably will care. But we did actually get my niece some AirPods, so she hopefully will just lose those instead of destroying the earpods. So the other part of this too that we need to do, and Tech for Your Needs is saying, actually, Apple Monster. I'm sorry. Now that I'm in the chat, now I'm ignoring it. So I've got to go back. Jason C says it's courage. Yeah, that is. I have a really courageous statement coming up about this. And Apple Monster says I could care less. Ever since AirPods, I never use wired headphones. Yeah. And Tech for Your Needs says, yeah, that's my problem with the earpods. They fall. Plus, I just don't care for them. Yeah, that is my number one issue with them. Is even if I wanted to use the earpods, they are not on board with that plan at all. So, I think the other thing though why don't I care? That's why I don't care. But I also do care for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think this is a loss for consumers. So there's one less thing in the box. I mean, if you look back to the old days when Apple had the first iPhone back in 2007, they actually included a charging dock with the iPhone in the box. And over the years, they've been slowly plucking things out. So it's been really interesting to see them do that. And obviously it increases, there's a cost for doing all this stuff. And Apple changes things to benefit the cost structure. They change things on the phone. They change components. They do all this stuff because they have to obviously generate revenue. Apple is already allegedly generating a significant amount of revenue on every device sold, unlike carriers and other folks. But I think in reality, if you look back, go back to like 2018, we lost the headphone adapter in boxes. So for a while, when they switched over from the regular earpods with the little, I think it was like 2012 that the earpods came out and they had the regular jack on them. Then that went on for a while, and then they moved into having the Lightning jack ones. Then they included the Lightning to Lightning to USB. They included the Lightning to headphone or headset jack adapter in the box for a couple years. That was, I believe, it was like 2016. I feel like it was 2016 that they came out with the earpods. Someone can fact check me, or with the Lightning earpods. But they included it for a couple years, and then 2018 they stopped that. And now it's like in 2020 they're just going to pull the entire headphones out of the box. Which is kind of irritating to me. Now, the other thing too is the other reason why I don't like this is Apple has, since the beginning of time, since really Apple got into the personal mobile industry, and I'll say in the 2000s. I mean, there's some other products that Apple could be considered as getting into the mobile industry on long ago that weren't really the kind of mobile we're talking about today. But since they came out with the iPod, since they've had a personal audio device, going back to like 2001, they included headphones with that device. And that was through years that they did that. And it was their classic design earbuds. And then they came out with stereo design earbuds, or stereo. I mean, I got to Google this here real quick to make sure I'm talking about it right. I don't want to get facts wrong in something that's recorded, but they, it was the iPhone stereo. It started off as the classic design. The classic design was their old original ones, and then it moved into like stereo headphones, and that had a remote controller on them, so you could actually play, pause, and do some other things from the remote. And then once you, and that was actually, I didn't realize that was actually 2007 that happened. So that did go on for a while. I thought it was before that, but apparently, yeah. So 2001 to 2007 was the same. That doesn't seem right, but yeah. So in 2007. They had the iPhone stereo headphones with the remote control, is what they called it. And then after that, a couple years later, they started including the mic on them. That all seems really late to me. But in any event, the point is this stuff has been included since the absolute beginning of the Apple releasing this stuff. They've had headphones with the product. So it torques me a little bit, because now you're selling something. I mean, I know that, the iPod, they'll probably still include the headphones with the iPod, given who the iPod's going towards. The question is, are they going to update the iPod in the future? Where's the iPod going? What's the future of that product? But my issue now is you are including nothing in the box with a product that is a personal audio device. Whether you use it as a phone, whether you don't, it is a personal audio device, and you're not including anything inside the box for consumers to participate in that device with, which is rather frustrating. Participate in that device. What a strange choice of words that was. In case you're wondering if this was scripted, it's absolutely not. So looking at that, you've now got your personal audio device that you can listen to through some really, really great speakers on the front. And that frustrates me. Now, you've got to know too, just going back in time here, we're going through this is a little bit of a history lesson. Maybe I should have Googled this all in advance, but 2001 came out, they had the headphones. 2004, they did start selling other headphones. Some other not third-party stuff, but it was Apple OEM hardware, and they were in-ear headphones, and it was nothing majorly magical. There was no one that was not with Apple that was going to go there. They once came out in 2007. They came out with a Bluetooth headphone, a Bluetooth earpiece, which was very expensive, but came and went pretty quickly. That was the iPhone Bluetooth headset, I believe is what they called it. But it was single ear. It was nothing too magical. I never actually owned one. Full disclosure. But the point is they started doing this. They started moving into this realm, but there was nothing Apple had that was going to bring people into the brand. So starting in 2012-ish timeframe, they moved into some other products. They started making an LTE compliant iPhone. They changed the design. They started drawing more people in. There was more of an Android competition going on. I mean, Apple kind of started the smartphone thing back in 2007. I know people crucify me for that and saying, what are you talking about? BlackBerry, blah, blah, blah. But the iPhone was a game changer. Let's just admit to that. Get it out there. 5 years later, they made some other changes. We got an iPhone 5. A couple years after that, they bought this little company called Beats, which if you didn't know, that was Apple signaling that they're getting it. I mean, they're taking this personal audio thing seriously. Now, they might be talking about taking your headphones away in 2020, but in 2014, they were buying a company that did personal audio gear. And it's been really interesting. It's been frog in a pot almost, the way that Apple's been handling it since then. They bought them. Nothing really changed. Nothing really happened. There was nothing too drastic going on there. But then all of a sudden, 2016, we saw AirPods come out. We actually saw the W1 chip came out. And now the W1 was in, a bunch of different things here. They had, I personally remember the big announcement was they're going to be in the AirPods, but there was also another set of Beats headphones that they came out in. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, as I'm literally looking this up here in the background. There was a ton of, well, not a ton, there was like 5 different things. But I do remember I owned the Beats X headphones, which those had that first gen wireless chipset, the W1. There were the Beats Solo 3, Power Beats 3, and Beats Studio 3 that also all eventually had that headset in them. So, and there is a, I do not remember exactly which model it is, and I'm not going to spend time looking it up, but it's funny, the AirPods were not technically the first one to ship to consumers with that W1, by the way, but it was the first set of Apple branded Bluetooth headphones that signaled to everybody that Apple was serious in this game. Apple was, they were, while these headphones integrated so well with iPhones and they moved around the entire Apple ecosystem very, very well, it was the first pair of headphones I've ever seen Apple make that actually drew people to that brand to go get them. I knew 2 people, like 2, that had Android devices and bought AirPods because of their superiority for what they did, which at the time was really, really good battery life for what they were. They came in a nice little chiclet-sized container. They had very, very reliable and very robust Bluetooth communications after 1 or 2 upgrades, but they were amazing on phone calls. Their noise rejection was really great, even though they weren't isolating, blah, blah, blah. This isn't a show about AirPods, you idiot. Shut up. Okay, so my point is, that was Apple signaling that they were legit. They're like, okay, you know what? We can do this. People are buying these things. They couldn't get them in stock. I'm lucky I pre-ordered them. If I remember with the first AirPods too, they were sold out forever. But the point is, Apple's throwing it down and they're going, hey, this is the direction that we're heading in. And we're making this happen now. So since that time, they've obviously continued to advance. And also the other thing too, I should mention, that W1 is, I didn't believe this, but I did look it up a little bit in advance. And the W1 is also inside of the HomePod, which for some weird reason I never knew. I knew that it had one of the old A-line CPUs in it. I didn't realize it also had the W1. And that is partly why it's able to do some of the transitioning and things. I mean, common sense sort of thing. I just never thought about that ever until, or I knew about it, but I didn't really care because no one cares about the HomePod. But then I was around it again today. So, but the whole point of this is with the Beats acquisition, with the changes to the Beats stuff, and with the changes to Apple's wireless lineup, and then now making for the first time ever a W1 wireless chip, this is their signal that they're moving into this realm. They're here to take lunch money from other people that are in that space. They're seriously going to do things that will bring people over to the Apple brand. And if you look back at 2019, that was the next kind of iteration of this. We saw an H1 chipset arrive, which came with a whole new set of AirPods. So there's AirPods first and second gen. The second gen added Qi wireless as an option, but it also had even faster switching between devices. The battery life was a little bit better, in my opinion. But the biggest part of 2019 and those changes on the H1 was you had the Powerbeats Pro. Those headphones came along, which, yeah, they're okay. They're decent. I mean, they're still really expensive for what they are, quite honestly, but they are truly wireless, independent. This is the symbol for independent things that go on your ears, by the way. But I should really learn sign language so that I can stop gesturing weirdly and awkwardly while I'm on these streams. But the point is, the Powerbeats Pro came out, which is pretty good, after the new AirPods came out. And it was really strange. There were a lot of people expected, that to be a design change that was going to, oh my gosh, I can't wait for these new AirPods. I can't wait for these AirPods. And they were the exact same thing. The cases from the old ones worked. Everything was the exact same, which actually I really liked. And quite honestly, a little sidebar discussion here. The AirPods are one of the first products from Apple that I got on launch day. And I actually I beat them to death. I use them. I can't even tell you how many hours. There's probably thousands of hours of phone calls, listening to movies or shows or music or whatever. I would literally put them in and I wouldn't take them out all day. I would put other headphones on top of them. It was crazy. By time I was done using my AirPods, they would last about 45 minutes to an hour in your ear before they would just die. And it was just from all the charge cycles and destroying them. So I in that time of March 2019, which I believe is when the new AirPods came out, I was like, I had actually bought another pair of AirPods in January or February. I didn't open them because I'm like, I know Apple's got something else coming, but I'm going to die if I don't swap these things out before my next business trip. So I was teetering, and thankfully for me, Apple came out with those new ones, so I was able to swap them and make everything happy. But the funnier part, just as another thing too, I need to be clear here. I'm not one of those idiots that wears AirPods on planes. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand that. AirPods Pro, maybe, but we didn't talk about those yet. AirPods, no, don't do that. That's not what they're for. They're not. So when you think of me using them for thousands of hours, it's in like regular things. It's like walking on the street. It's, in a meeting when I don't want to listen to people. No, it's on phone calls. It's walking. It's office stuff. It's quiet. They're not isolating headphones. Don't wear them on planes. You can listen to them on planes, but you have to turn them up to like 11, and then it's just the most horrible sound. They're not really that good sounding either as far as sound quality goes. They're impressive for what they are, which you'll hear me say a lot of. But please, for the sake of those around you who don't like listening to old fingernails in the bottom of a tin can bouncing around, just put your AirPods in the bag and buy something else for the airplane. Thank you. But anyways, the other part of 2019, the real thing that came in 2019 for me personally was the AirPods Pro. Those things were awesome. They were, and if you have seen some of the other stuff on my channel, you know that I did some battle back and forth. I really enjoyed the AirPods Pro. I didn't talk about them that much. I started to have some issues with them after a firmware update. I know. We're repeating ourselves, Chris, but bear with me. I replaced them with the Galaxy Buds, and now in 2020, since they've got some rockin' new some rockin' new firmware again, the AirPods Pro are my favorite headphones. But those are, again, one of the H1 chip holders. So I guess the question is now, and also, hang on, let me buzz over to the chat here for a second. I got it working now, and I put it off to the side of my screen. So, an Apple Monster's hinting towards where we're headed here. He says, I know it would cost more if they added AirPods in the box, but iPhones are more and more expensive as years go on. Anyway, Michael Pepper Tech Talk is talking about waste reduction. Wow, this is great. You guys are all swimming to where I'm heading to, so this is great. Michael Pepper says they should have bought a better company. Beats are crap and distortion is a thing. Yeah, Beats are funny. I did years ago, I bought those Bose QC15s or whatever. It was like, the Truth, those $300 or $350 wired headphones from Bose. When I started flying on planes more, I was like, I'm not going to spend that kind of money ever. And I came to love those things. But as I was shopping for them, every time I would go somewhere any store that I would go to, or anytime I talk to anybody, they'd say, "Did you try the Beats? Oh man, you've got to try the Beats. Here, put these things on." And Beats were really, really good for generating like deep bass at a medium volume level. But I didn't feel, I mean, and just to be clear, yeah, the Boses they don't produce a particularly amazing sound, but the noise cancellation, their ability to make it library-like plus regular sound was awesome. And that's ultimately why I chose them and wore them for a number of years before giving them to a family member. But every time I put on Beats, it was just like, the things were just like trying to like rattle in your head. And there was some like mediocre sound coming out in between that bass. But if you listen to something that wasn't like crazy bass, or you listen to like, say, some, old school Metallica, and there was some like actual wild rhythm bass in there, the Beats couldn't hang. So yeah, Michael Pepper, I totally agree with you. I never actually owned a pair of Beats headphones. And actually, to be technical, the Power Beats Pro are the first set of Beats headphones that I owned and didn't return. The Beats X I did own, and I loved them for a little while, but ended up returning them sometime. I mean, it was sometime, I think it was like over a month after I got them, because one of them kept dying. And it was the weirdest thing. It was like, even though it was a wired connection, it would sort of disappear while I was listening to music, which was truly bizarre. But thanks to Apple for taking that back. But anyways, yeah, so the Power Beats Pro are the first ones I kept. And ironically, they are not all that bassy. I don't know. So, hey, Gary, Contractors BV, welcome, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Wow. Will the AirPods keep us from getting swimmer's ear if we are swimming? Yes, I've heard, as long as you ingest them, take one a day, not two on that day, to prevent you from getting swimmer's ear. So the other part of this thing. So how does Apple market this? That's the big part here. I was trying to think of a couple different ways, because Apple's taking something and they're gonna pull it out of the box. Now they're going to tell us about it. You can imagine this. It's going to be like, someone up on stage telling us about this, hopefully this fall, if it's going to mature. And I'm thinking that, Apple's first thing is they're probably going to try to tell you that, due to us not shipping. I mean, if you guys in the chat have something, I'd love to hear your marketing slogans for this. But I'm thinking, their biggest one is probably going to be, this is better for the environment because we're shipping lower weight iPhones. I mean, not that those things weigh anything anyway, but there's a packaging dimension that's built in, which adds to a dimensional weight when they're shipping. So yeah, our new iPhones are this is all off the cuff too. Our newest iPhones are the most ecologically shipped phone we've ever made. It's got the lowest shipping cost, which means more money to put into engineering, not in our pockets, and give it to you. The other part of this too is, they could go the preventing the spread of the virus. Because sharing dirty headphones, forget needles, forget all that stuff. But if you share dirty headphones, you could spread a virus. So this way, they're just going to get rid of the headphones. And now you have no choice. Now you can't share them. Because if you buy those $200, $300 wireless ones, you're not going to let anybody else touch those things. I mean, sharing headphones, let's just be clear. Buying used headphones, sharing headphones, that's all gross anyway. So I don't really condone that whole thing. But if you are going to pass down your headphones to somebody else, alcohol and heat are your friend before you do them. Or, well, I mean, gosh, euphemism, like I'm giving them to my wife or something. No, it's really appropriate to clean them like insanely well. And then if you get them from somebody, clean them even more well. But Apple doesn't care about that because they got you. They're already going to stop including them with their iPhone soon. So you don't have to have that stress and that burden in your life. And then the last thing, I guess, one more for me before I look to you chat folks who are coming up with absolutely nothing while I am babbling on here is, today we're taking our pledge to save sea turtles. The straws were all the sea turtles. So Apple's going to go and say, without shipping headphones in our boxes with our iPhones now, we're going to say our goal is to save 50,000 more sea turtles than we did before, because they'll resist getting tangled when the sea turtles try to take them out of their ears or something like that. Who really knows? I'm just sure that it's going to be something positive, and it won't be a negative thing. Now, the other part of this too is, Apple, I'm sure that they'll have done some study on this, and they're gonna spin it however they're going to spin it. They're going to say people weren't using them. They were in the box, and so many people didn't take them out of the box, and they polled people, and they did all this crap. They're probably not polling anybody that actually bought AirPods or anything. They're probably polling other people. But I think the message here at the end of the day is Apple is a personal audio company as well as a smartphone company and a tablet company and a complete ecosystem company. The ear part is the start of what's next. I mean, if we want to roll into the future, I think there's talk about Apple Glass coming, which I'm not going to talk about that, but that obviously covers your eyes. Apple's filling stuff in your ears now. So they have this vision, and they can't deliver on that vision if everything is wired. So getting you to move to wireless headphones is absolutely imperative for them. That is a mission. So what better way to do it than to just stop including wired ones? I mean, I'm sure they'll still sell the wired ones for people that want them, and they'll still cost like $30 and it will still be ridiculous. But if you could get, so let's talk about a little bit more about the future. We know what all that means. What I think the next things that you're going to see from them are, there's rumors of a AirPods Studio coming out. It's supposed to be coming out this June. There's been a couple different rumors about it, but obviously with WWDC coming up on June 22nd, I think they're going to be dropping something in that time frame. They have to make some announcements, whether it's iMac stuff, whether it's AirPods Studio, whether it's a budget line of AirPods. All three of these things, well, except for the iMac, would complement Apple dropping headphones out of their devices in the fall time. Now, there's also, and I think it was Apple Monster, I believe, was the one that made a comment that he was talking about possibly Apple bundling them with their iPhones. I'll be honest, I would love to see that happen. I absolutely would. Now, I don't think you're going to see that happen as any sort of a discount. I don't think that there's Apple's not going to leave the pricing alone. I guess what I'll say is, if you see Apple do that, it means that our phones are going S20 Ultra level, because they're not going to lose out on the profit of that, especially if you think about it. Once they stop selling the phone with the headphones, with the ear pods, if you want that, now you have to buy headphones. Now you might also like the freedom of choice. Maybe that's Apple's other marketing thing too. We knew everybody loved the Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus as much as Chris did, and we want you to experience that too. But in reality, why would they give you something in the box without charging you for it when you're just going to most likely click that button, in the cart? I mean, for anyone who hasn't bought anything at Apple in recent times, when you buy one thing, naturally the next thing that appears in your cart is what? I mean, you add the thing to your cart, and then it's like, this is what everybody else bought with their crap. Well, now it's going to be, and it already is AirPods Pro for just about anything you buy, unless it's like a power cord. And I think it even shows up for the power cord. The people that bought your MacBook power cord also bought AirPods Pro, iPad Pro Pencil, and this leather stupid looking thing that costs $200 that no one actually has ever used in my entire life. But for some weird reason, you keep spamming me with it every time I buy something Apple. But the point is, I don't think Apple will bundle regular AirPods. If they do, I could see them starting off with a special budget line that it does some sort of minimal function. And when they're announced or released outside of the box, they'd be like $100 maybe. I could see something like that, but I don't think that they would do that, because it also presents a marketing challenge of, well, actually, another genius plan I just thought of is, originally I was going to say they're going to have to make some with nothing in the box for those who have AirPods and don't want to buy it, and some with them in the box. No, what am I thinking? Apple will make pre-orders available, but that first wave of pre-order hardware for everybody that's desperate to get it will have to buy the stupid headphones with it. The ones without the headphones will be available in January. What was I thinking? This is Apple. That's of course what they're going to do. They're going to stop giving us the free wired ones. They're going to give us the other ones and charge us a premium for it, and it's going to be the only one available for a little while. So screw you if you already bought AirPods. We don't care. Screw you if you bought the $350 or $400 AirPods Studio. We don't care. We still want you to have these ones. And they'll find some way to spin it to us and make it all positive. But what I would really like to see them do, since this is a show and it's mine and I have creative control of it, I would really enjoy it if Apple did something to where when you buy the iPhone, since they're pulling this thing out, at least maybe for the first year or two, they do something along the lines of a bundle discount, which Apple has never done. So they're not going to, but it's okay. I'll just throw it out there because I'm here. If you're buying the iPhone and you're pre-ordering it, kind of like what Samsung has done, they throw them in if you go to Samsung, but Apple, at least give you, I don't know, $50 off or something if you buy the AirPods and the iPhone, and or if you're on an iUpgrade program or something like that. It bundles it all in, and it takes something off the price. We know that's not happening. I know it's not, but it's a thought. It's something nice. So while I think it's bad for Apple to do this, I also kind of see the necessity, going back to the top of this whole thing and kind of wrapping up this topic, and like I said before, this is the only other thing. This is the only thing that I actually want to talk about today, other than some updates on the Pixel side of life. So if you guys in the chat have anything, certainly hit me up now or delete your messages now. But I think this is the right thing for them to do from a perspective of, I don't know a lot of people that use these. I know way more people that hate them and don't like them. And if I were given the choice to either redesign them to be something meaningful or throw them in the trash so that consumers don't have to deal with them anymore, I would throw them in the trash too. But at the same time, it doesn't feel right to take something out of the box and then not give consumers something for it. So I feel like if you are buying at the same time, the only right way to do this ahead is to do some sort of a bundle offer discount or something like that. But that's nice wishful thinking. Probably not going to happen. But in the end, we'll see what happens. I think this could be a really, really smart thing by Apple, and I'm curious why they haven't done it sooner. But that pretty much wraps it up. I do need to go back over here and see in the chat. Gary, Contractors BOV, says Apple should offer AirPods V1 with the phone. That would be interesting. I don't think that so for one thing, I don't know that they have V1 AirPods anymore. I mean, I think that they've kind of sold out, and I think now the way that consumer technology goes, it's probably going to be more cost effective for them just to offer the V2 AirPods with like no wireless charging case or something with the iPhone. And I know I didn't say this, but you hit on something good. I did have a thought of Apple might offer them like they would offer the regular AirPods, but with some sort of stupid charging case with like no battery or something like that. It comes with like a little, that same case, but there's no lid on it or some ridiculous thing like that. That's like the fair thing that Apple would, or the fair and perception thing that Apple would do. Oh, we'll give you these AirPods. We're not including AirPods with them, but there's just no charging case. There's a charging dock, and you plug them in to charge them. And then, and by the way, we sell the charging case for $150 now instead of 70 or 80. That's totally what I could see them doing, and that's what I thought they were actually the games that they were gonna play when they started selling the case for them last year. So, including the V1, I don't think we will see that. But I will be interested to see if Apple does this. I do not believe that they will include wireless headphones with these, but that wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, for just to be clear on Apple's manufacturing costs and everything, I haven't looked at an article on these, and this is totally off the hip, but I'm guessing that their AirPods, regular AirPods today, the cost of goods sold, the true material cost, like this day and age, today, modern times, is, I'd say, probably less than $7 to make them. Now, the wired ones are probably in the pennies, and $7 is probably being high with the regular AirPods, considering the regular AirPods. But I mean, the regular AirPods are less, but when you look at that over selling, 100 million iPhones, that's a bit of money. So that's really where this whole thing comes into play. They always have to pay. They have to pay to manufacture and then stick it in there, figure out a way to engineer it and stick it in there. Then they have to figure out a way to ship it. So if they can eliminate it, it saves a bunch of stuff. Even though it's a change, it's a one-time change. They move it up, they make it happen, and then it's done. And then you can just buy whatever you want from here on out. I don't know. We'll see. But I think I am going to close this one out for today. Man, this is comical. I was going to start this and say I'm keeping it short today because I've only got one topic, but somehow, I don't know, I managed to run this one out. So I appreciate everybody coming through in the chat. Thank you all so much for showing up today. I rarely do this, but if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, it just tells YouTube that, like, if you haven't already, or if you're watching this in replay, give that like a hit. It tells YouTube that you don't hate me, which is good. I mean, unless you hate me, then hit the dislike, but then make sure you tell me in the comments why I suck. That'd be cool too. But until next time. Oh, wait, you know what I didn't actually mention? I'm sorry. Totally forgot this. Totally spaced. I've got to still mention this because we did make a change recently. So I am also part of the Tech Circus, formerly known as Let's Talk Tech, that was Friday nights on the Michael Pepper Tech Talk channel with Tech 702, Michael Pepper, and myself. That is now moved to Monday. So I will actually see you guys all tomorrow. I don't know why I'm pointing here, but I'd like to do this, I guess. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time on the Michael Pepper Tech Talk channel. And also, if you're looking for some other stuff to do today, I know there's usually a Gadget Cast with Travis MCP, Greg McFadden at 5 p.m. Eastern, and Viper is doing a live stream. So if you've not ever seen Viper do a live stream, he is doing one tonight. Make sure you check that out. Actually, it's ladies' night, which is kind of interesting. I haven't seen one of those in a long time on his channel, at least one as broad spectrum as this. That's supposed to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're looking for some additional programming, check that out. And I'm also pretty confident that I will give Gary and Michael a shout out. I see you guys are here. I know that, oh, thank you. And Michael has actually reminded me. Good timing, man. Sorry, I was totally like missing out on that one. I'm sure Gary has some interesting videos coming out this week. And I know Michael Pepper has recently acquiesced some gear that he'll be dropping some reviews on this week. Probably, maybe even some of the stuff we talked about today. Maybe not. But until then, until next time, whenever I see you all in the chat or here on live or whatever, I really appreciate you guys coming through. Don't forget to hit that little subscribe button and that little notification bell so you know every time we go live. I will be back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. God, I swear I'd never say that. But I really appreciate you guys again. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you everybody in the replay crew. And take care, everyone. Be well.